Good day, everyone. I am Laila Oboiser, and I will present the positive school culture. Most of our students here in our country experiences bullying, discrimination, cheating, mental health problems, and the list goes on, and the challenge never ends. But it all starts with a positive school culture. School specialists have found that a positive school culture helps take of a considerable measure of those issues I have mentioned. So, what is positive school culture? In this presentation, we will define what is positive school culture. We will discuss how to promote positive team culture. And lastly, we will discuss how important it is in creating positive culture in our school. Positive school culture is a broad and nearly impossible to define term. According to the National School Climate Council, they gave a specific criteria for what defines a positive school culture, and these are the following. Number one, positive school culture are the norms, values, and expectations that support social, emotional, and physical safety. This implies that the school with a positive culture provided a healthy environment to both work and learn in. It has to foster a strong culture that will be the motivator for its students, instructors, and administrators alike. Number two, people are engaged and respected. It implies that in the school, in the classroom, they treat everyone equally. Number three, students, families, and educators work together to develop and live a shared school vision. This means that the families, the parents, the teachers, and other staffs and students has a shared goal. They collaborate with each other. They communicate well. Number four, educators model and nurture attitudes that emphasize the benefits gained from learning. This also implies that teachers and other school leaders give or shows a good behavior and moral. And lastly, each person contributes to the operations of the school and the care of the physical environment. So, a school with a positive culture has a a safety learning environment for both teachers and students, and each of them has an important role. Moving on, there are numerous ways in promoting a positive culture. However, we will focus in these five steps. So, number one, staff role models. At school, we know that students learn by observation. Observing the actions of others influences how they respond. Children model what they see in their environment as a way of coping with unfamiliar situations. No matter what, all behavior is learned, either it is good or bad. Your staff's behavior or the staff's behavior in school communicates how students should behave regardless of how students are told to behave. Like, for instance, when a student is rejected by peers, so the teacher's reaction can reshape the situation. Here, the teacher models warm and friendly behavior to the isolated student, so peers will become less likely to continue to isolate the peer. Students see or observe that the teacher modeling a friendly relationship, and so ilahada yung gisundong. Number two, build strong relationships. So, these relationships between the teachers, students, influence everything how they feel supported and rewarded to how your students learn and improve their performance. So, research tell us that when students feel liked and respected by their teachers, they find more success in school, academically or behaviorally. On the other hand, weak interpersonal relationships breed lack of trust, insecurity, and fear, which begin to define a negative school culture. So here teachers need to have a time to talk to their students in or out of the classroom. And parents should be involved in the process too with clear two-way communication because behavior at home influences behavior in the classroom. So the goal here it should be that every adult in the building to maintain a high rate of positive interactions with students because positive behaviors results a positive culture. Next, set appropriate consequences. Effective consequences link behaviors to good and bad consequences. In psychology, negative reinforcement involves removing a negative or unpleasant consequence. In this way, we can strengthen positive behaviors because students will clearly know the consequences. Remember, consequences need to be appropriate and clearly tied to behaviors. They should not be taken in a punitive light but rather as part of shaping behaviors. So here, the students must understand why the consequences exist and why their behavior was wrong. Just like for example, if ang estudyante is nagbully siya, so there will be a nang bully siya sa iyang classmates, so there will be a consequences of their action. So, para mahibalaan sa estudyante nga mali siya, nga mali ang pagbully sa lahi nga estudyante. Fourth is reward good behavior. Here, you can compliment the students if they have a good performance because complimenting can boost their confidence. And lastly, track and measure positivity. So, educators need to establish metrics that define success. In addition, educators need a system for capturing data that will enable them to monitor their progress toward those goals. Such a system will ensure a consistency in how teachers capture evidence of the behavior based interactions they have with students across classrooms. That consistency helps administrators truly understand to what extent progress is being made and enables them to better support teachers' need. It is very important that schools have a positive culture because a positive school atmosphere encourages student attendance, which is a factor that helps cure many school woes. It also helps reduce stress in teachers and students and boost a more positive mindset in everyone involved. Some studies even suggest that school climate is a key factor in student achievement and teacher retention. So, when a school embodies a positive culture, its focal point is always to serve students and equip them with the necessary skills to thrive in adulthood. So, if the importance of school culture is disregarded, the school can become a toxic learning and working environment and fail to achieve its educational goals. A toxic culture will only hinder the school in achieving that purpose. That is why correcting a negative school culture is paramount for a functioning educational setting which strives to promote student achievements and high staff morale. I will end this presentation with a quote. A positive school culture is the underlying reason why the other components of successful schools were able to flourish. This implies that without positive culture, the education of the students will be useless. And that's all. Thank you and have a good day.